Well, the pirates who don't do anything keep quiet, even under pressure, but Twilight thinks they won't hold up. You go to war with the army you have, Twilight. Well, Twilight so far has been reacting, but now she takes action, using her intellect to think her way out of this. Gravity is a fickle ally. Twilight rigs up an impromptu hot air balloon. That is a PhD in MacGyvering right there. But the map was left behind, and it's clear where they intend to go thanks to the drawings all over it. Still, Tempest spitefully destroys the airship, which is sad because airships are right up there with space elevators for me, so destroying them is a crime. I mean, it's one thing to enslave an entire kingdom, it's another thing to break a flying boat.
I simply cannot even. I have nothing. The bad guys have won. I'm so sorry.
Speaking of irrational, I actually do feel sorry for Rarity, too. I know I should be annoyed, but the show's characterization of her has given her additional dimensions beyond the archetypes so that I can't help but sympathize that this is all she has to give. Well, they make it to the top of the mountain only to find the city deserted. That's a bit of a letdown. But they're drawn to the sound of singing. Time to investigate. Only the whirlpool activates and draws them down into the deep. Operation Courtesy Flush. Well, this may be a fantasy world, but they still need to breathe air, so it's lucky if they get air bubbles around their heads as they start blacking out. Turns out this is thanks to...
I'm so glad I saved you guys.
We're fans of that move as well. She brings them to see her mom in a classic underwater coral setup. Coral is neat because it looks like the plants made for a classic Star Trek set. Well, they do not receive a warm welcome. Surface dwellers are forbidden, which is normally an easy policy. It's like NASA setting a bears are banned from the surface of the moon policy. Twilight pleads that the Storm King's forces have invaded and she needs to find the hippogriffs. Despite the Queen's protests, their new friend tells them that when the Storm King came, the Queen brought them all underwater where they'd be safe, turning the hippogriffs into... well, that. At further prompting, the Queen uses the same thing she used then, a magic pearl, to change our crew as well. Twilight's like, wow, this is perfect. Everyone can be transformed into some powerful form that can defeat the Storm King's forces. But the Queen shoots that down. Her duty is to her people first. But there is another option.
You can stay with us forever.
I never said it was a good option. Pinky feels sorry for the princess when they make clear they can't stay, and says that while they don't have to become permanent residents, they could hang with her for a little while before leaving. Twilight, as the Princess of Friendship, thinks this is a great idea. Well, Pinkie Pie's time for a song is long overdue, and as established, it's powerful stuff. They should come with a warning label. Even the Queen is moved by the time this is all done, and it's strongly implied that, as friends, the hippogriffs should help out Equestria. Until, that is, the alarm sounds, and not the happy alarm, the bad thing alarm. Seems that Twilight was using them as a distraction in order to try to steal the pearl. Oh boy. That is a bad thing on top of a bad thing. It's bad things all the way down. The Queen sends them back to the surface in their normal forms, and Pinkie Pie, of all people, gives Twilight Sparkle the business for her grossly bad judgment, which is really a moment to pause and take a hard look at yourself. Twilight gets defensive as the only one who takes this seriously, she feels, but as Pinkie Pie continues to lay into her for not trusting her friends who joined her on this perilous quest, well...
Well, maybe I would have been better off without friends like you!
Damn, that's a hard one to walk back. Especially when you are the frickin' Princess of Friendship. It's like the UN Charter being filled with racial slurs. The others follow Pinkie Pie, giving Twilight the stink eye as they pass, and with good reason. They risked their lives and climbed a mountain for her. That was a dick move. To make things worse, Twilight is then captured by Tempest, who's attempting to weaponize songs against her, telling of her backstory. She was playing with her friends, and a bear took out her horn and gave her that scar. After that, the raw power of her broken horn just kept wrecking shit. I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't use that language. So, Faster than you could say poopity-doop, she was replaced and went off on her own to be villainous. We all fill the void with our hobbies. Well, Spike catches up with the others and tells them what happened, but they just feel defeated right now. That's when Capper returns to give them a pep talk about all the things they've already done on this little caper, and the Buccaneers arrive as well to join in. Even the Hippogriff Princess arrives, in Hippogriff form no less.
We're coming, Twilight! As soon as we think up a plan!
A plan? I like that. Throw them off by trying something they'd never expect from us. Well, Twilight Sparkle is dragged into the palace, where the other princesses have already been put into position for the big moment, and the Storm King shows up too. After ranting a bit about the state of the place, when your name's Storm King, a stained glass pony motif is not really your thing, he plunges the staff into place and absorbs all the magic from the four princesses. He now has great power. And is kind of a dick the way he uses it.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Day, night, day, night.
With great power comes great stupidity.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
Behold, the god of dipshits! Well, the crew has arrived with a giant cake, as per their idiom. They get past the guards, but it's DeVito's Stitch that gives them away when he swipes some of the frosting. Not to worry, this is the final act, and even with the jig up, they're ready to fight back, in all their various ways. Without exception.
Let it all out.
Well, time to have fun storming the castle. They do quite well, but the God Emperor of Shiny Things has his staff still, and makes a storm since he's built his brand around that. That and being an asshole, because his storm tosses his minions all over the place. And when Tempest asks him to keep his word and restore her horn, he laughs at her and tells her to piss off. She fights back and soon is at risk of flying off into the storm. Twilight has a choice between going for the staff or saving Tempest, and she chooses the latter. She's the good guy after all. But the Storm King now has them dead to rights, and there's no way anyone could get through that storm. Nothing less than a cannonball could penetrate that.
I'm excited. Who's excited? I've never been so excited!
The human cannonball dates back to the 19th century, and despite the name, it does not involve an explosive. The propulsion is done by other mechanisms, such as compressed air or springs. A small amount of gunpowder is often set off to give it an effect, but it's completely unrelated to the propulsion. Considered one of the most dangerous circus acts, the most recent fatality was actually in 2011 on the Isle of Man, when the safety net that was supposed to catch the human cannonball collapsed. David the Bullet Smith Jr. holds the record for the longest flight, 59 meters, and was fired over the whirling blades of a helicopter on America's Got Talent because reality TV has no qualms about tossing a human being into a blender if it gets them ratings. Well, in this case, we're trying to thwart the world's stupidest Thanos, so risks have to be taken, and luckily they not only make it, but knock away the staff. They need to get to it because it's still disgorging power, so they form a chain to provide Twilight Sparkle with an anchor while she tries to get close, while the Storm King tries to climb up there to get it first. She grabs it, he goes through the window, and out into his own whirlwind. Yeah, he's so screwed his new name is the Porn King. Twilight slips from Pinkie Pie's grasp, though, and is seemingly lost to the typhoon as well. But then the winds calm, and she comes flying back with it for a much-deserved group hug. Looks like Doofus has one more play in him. He tosses his turn-to-stone ball, but Tempest intercepts, causing both to get hit by it. Twilight's able to catch Tempest, but the bad guy shatters on the ground. Suck it, bad guy. Tempest joins with the others in setting things right again. The princesses are returned to normal and get their mojo back. They use their combined power to fix everything that was damaged or whatever during the invasion. That leads to Songbird Serenade finally giving her performance. Thanks for doing that, even though you got enslaved. While she sings, Twilight and Tempest have a talk, where her horn comes up. What's nice is that there is no discussion about trying to fix it. Tempest helped a monster in a desperate attempt to restore what was lost. The ending is about her acceptance of her situation, and that no one is judging her for it. And in the end credits, the ultimate brick joke, Pinkie Pie is dancing in a line alongside the Queen of the Hippos. Nice. My Little Pony the movie is first and foremost made for its established audience. It is the show, larger. This addresses the majority of the reasons why it didn't do well with critics. The film has a baked-in assumption about it that those who have little to no familiarity with it won't be able to cross. It's simply not built for those beyond its existing audience, except on the most superficial level. The question then becomes, is that a mistake? Unfortunately, yes. Something like, for example, The Simpsons has the scale of cultural penetration so that when they released their film, they didn't need to worry about those who were unfamiliar with the show. MLP is not unknown, but it's not something with the same cultural penetration. The public at large would know some of the things about it, perhaps, but not the kind of detail that would be required, which is essential for a work looking to draw in those beyond its television audience. The situation leaves Applejack and Fluttershy out in the cold. Twilight and Pinkie are at the lead, Rainbow Dash and Rarity behind them, and the other two are also ran. They're in the situations and get the odd line, but they're only along for the ride. Attempts are made to spruce up the master villain, but he's a bit too thinly sketched. And Michael Peña's diminutive henchman is a squandering of his talents. Character is one of the pillars that MLP is built upon, which is why this is not a small thing, failing to convey to the larger audience what makes these characters worth caring about. But taking it back inside of the established audience and those who are at least familiar enough with it like myself, what it gives them, well, is what they were expecting, which is the same except with more dynamic animation. You couldn't do a lot of these things on the show, and that's what a film should give, more than what you normally could have. The music is bigger, everything is bigger. While there are some dubious issues, overall the script is very impressive, with plenty of sneaky lines and sharp wit. Rarity's lines and performance as the put-upon is perfectly balanced so that it never feels annoying and flavors the piece. The subtext of their quest is clever. They go to the Queen of the Hippogriffs to get help, but don't. Yet it is literally the friends we made along the way that are the army they need to save Equestria. Justifying a bad act in the name of a righteous cause is what dooms Twilight's mission, but simply being their best selves, even in bad situations, is what wins the hearts and minds this problem needs. It's not flawless, even within the confines of the established audience, but there is definitely a lot more good than bad to it. It's simply that, as it is, it's more of a film with direct-to-video construction rather than one for the big screen. It's cool as it is, but it probably should have been 20% cooler. This video was created to celebrate the life of Cheryl Sangria, aka Cherbear, Navarro Evangelista Fernandez Uden, who passed away 2 years ago today at Comic-Con International. Among other achievements, Cheryl was the art director for Pacific PonyCon. I hope that she would have been entertained by this look at a work that was close to her heart. A link to her obituary is in the description for this video.